I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, everybody. I don't know that today has been crazy.
It's good stuff.
Welcome. We're in West Point, Mississippi once again, as Toxie likes to point out, in the Gamekeeper studio. It's a rainy, hot, muggy.
It's an interesting July, that's for sure.
A lot of rain.
Everything but the power is down, and somehow what are we? Did we hot wire it to the?
Yeah, we got it plugged in somewhere.
I don't know how it's working. I'm just thankful that our guest made the trip.
No doubt
and he's here. And I don't know if we've ever had a guest that was so electric and interesting,
Intriguing.
and everybody's asking questions.
Oh, no, come on now.
I would say like us.
Yeah, no doubt about
yeah,
it.
you
It's like
guys-
he's been here his whole life.
Yeah, y'all do kind of feel like family
Bros.
already, man.
Well, thanks for being
Well, hey,
here.
no, man, it's my pleasure to be here, guys. I want to just say thank you, just first and foremost, for the opportunity. So
Yeah.
Well,
Why
so
don't
let
you-
me go
yeah,
ahead and
yeah,
introduce.
introduce
Let
him.
me introduce you. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you if you get on the internet on YouTube or Instagram, you may have seen this page called November South.
Yeah.
And Will is a fantastic musician, but what we're more interested in, he's an unbelievable flint napper, and he builds arrows and bows that he hunts with and knives, just like the Native Americans.
If you could sit here and look at this stuff, it's amazing.
We got to hit the horns.
Yeah.
There they are.
Absolutely. Oh,
I
man.
mean, hobby
Screaming
gone
horn.
wild for sure.
Look, Dudley
Yeah.
has not. Dudley is drooling as he looks at all this stuff.
He's got a man crush on
Well,
you.
look,
We're going to go on and tell you.
fellas, I grew up so poor I couldn't afford nothing,
Yeah.
So hell, I just had to figure out how to make it all, and
Yeah.
I've just been doing it so long these days that I'm lucky enough to make it okay.
I don't-
Isn't
I
that
don't-
incredible? Look at that.
I don't even-
There's lots of folks that do it a lot better than me.
I don't know. This is amazing stuff. I'm
well, I
holding
sure
an arrow
appreciate it.
in every single component.
I don't know where to
everything.
start. I think we all have too many questions.
Okay, so let's do this. We got a little business we got to take care of
All
first, Will. So,
As always.
and then we're going to tell everybody how to find you and go watch you make these. It's just fascinating and everything. But so first off, there's not a lot of blood on the biologic. Everybody's fishing right now. But Lanny, it's brought to you by LS. But I wanted to tell you, I had a flat tire in that small tractor, and I think I invented the easiest way to change a flat tire.
Invented.
I may have.
You invented. Let
Come
me
on, I gotta hear
guess.
it.
Let me guess on what. No, you just tell us.
The bucket lifted up the front end of the tractor.
Look at this guy. I mean, he's
so ahead.
you're gonna be a farmer one day.
Could have been a heavy equipment operator.
I don't know about that.
No, God forbid.
But to make, the point is, I was way back in the woods, had a flat tire,
Just curled the bucket.
it
She's
curled
off
the
the
bucket and
ground.
lifted it up and took it right off.
Look at you.
Went to town.
That's kind of like
Wasn't it a
people
valve
who-
stem?
to people who have tractors. That's like saying, if you cut with the sharp side of the knife, it'll cut a steak better than the blunt side. Everybody knows that it has a tractor with a bucket on it.
So is there a hole in the tractor tire now?
Hey, let me just say this. Clearly, you're talking about the front tire.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
I don't know with the scoop on the back, you could probably do the same thing.
You absolutely could with that one.
Yeah.
Both ends of it maybe could get it up there. Yep.
The backhoe is strong on that unit. I'm gonna go on and tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Lanny's been doing a lot of digging. Bill basically dug a swimming pool.
I don't know who has got more hours on it now, though, me or you, because every time I look at it, I see these little Instagram videos of you fighting kudzu at the Ponderosa.
Yeah. Well, I think Hayden has the most hours on it.
Yeah, this is probably true.
So, turning the page. Thank you, LS. We are enjoying that. But we have a new sponsor. And Max got to, I'm excited to say Moultrie Feeders and Cedars is a new television and podcast sponsor.
And cameras.
And we've known them for a long time.
Long time partners.
And
Well,
so
they got good cameras.
they've, look, you've got, Toxic, you and Dan go back, goodness gracious, back 35 years ago.
More than that.
Yeah. The two companies, when I first came to Mossy Oak. We went to the Alabama Deer Hunters thing.
Oh yeah,
It was in Birmingham.
The World
Yeah, that,
Deer
was,
Expo.
that was way after we met.
Yeah.
We were at the consumer show in Jackson, the Wildlife Expo.
Yeah,
It
we're
was
going there in
just-
a couple weeks.
You know, like at
Dudley.
the time there might have been 30 booths, maybe. It was just getting started. There wasn't anything much, and so anyway, and I was there. Diane went with me. You know,
Ooh.
she was helping collect money. I mean, there was nobody, just me at that, and he was there with Patty. She was selling beef jerky. And she was like $1 a piece and whatever. She'd sell enough beef jerky to go shopping afterwards, way back in the day. And he was peddling his stuff. It was just him and maybe one other person back then. It was way in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we go back a long way.
A long way. And some of those old moultrie feeders that
some of
were
the
in
first,
bottomland. Oh, the metal ones.
Iconic.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that
Really are.
really is.
Really
So,
are.
well, we'll get to talk about them a lot. But, Mac, you've got something to read about it, please, if you don't mind. And let me pull my microphone over here.
More than 35 years ago, Moultrie pioneered the game management category. Today, Moultrie is one of the best-selling brands of game feeders in the world. It continues to innovate with new technology that hunters and land managers rely on. Defined by the foundations of reliability and ease of use, Moultrie products are always field tested and designed for hunters by hunters themselves. Combining forward-thinking innovation with time-tested practicality, Moultrie consistently demonstrates what it means to be the most trusted name in the game management category.
Wow, you got a face for radio, man. I mean, I'm telling you, you're killing it.
You know, and he's got a Disney Band-Aid on his finger, too.
Does he?
I noticed that. But so Moultrie's got a promo for all of our listeners. You can go to the Moultrie Feeders website.
Yeah.
And the promo code is Mossy Oak, and you get 15% off anything.
Is that feeders and cameras and everything?
I think it's everything.
Man, it's the perfect time of year for that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
look, we're just real excited to have them. They're
great
good
folks.
Yep. So, all right. So, I think that covers it, Mac. Thank you. And is your finger okay there? You got a Band-Aid on it.
Oh, look, I handed him an arrowhead earlier. It's pretty dang sharp.
I'm gonna tell you what, this blade right here is sharp.
So let me just kind of try to set the table, and then I don't know where this is going to go.
Yeah, I don't even know where we need to start.
We're gonna go though.
I kind of found you on Instagram.
Yeah.
I like arrowheads,
Yeah.
and I was watching you nap some arrowhead, and I kept seeing you wearing Mossy Oak pants,
Oh yeah.
and I thought, well, this guy. There's a connection here, and so I kept following you. And one day I just couldn't stand it anymore. I had to reach out to you.
He dropped down in your DMs.
Yeah, he did. He slid right in there, and I was like, I actually,
Who is this guy?
I did. I was kind of like, I was like, Bobby Cole. So many people reach out to me. I was like, Bobby, hey, I appreciate you reaching out. Can I get back to you?
Mm-hmm.
And let me think about it or whatever. And then. Hell, that was probably late at night. Then I woke up the next day and I looked. I said, "That's Bobby Cole from Mossy Oak."
Boom.
Excuse me, my bad.
The Bobby Cole.
All right, look, but we're going to talk about napping arrowheads. We're going to talk about bows and probably music and you hunting with this equipment.
Oh, that's right.
Want to make sure it's legal
That's the main
everywhere.
thing. Yes, sir.
But can you kind of tell us your story? Today at lunch, you were, just give us so people know who you are.
Yeah. So I, I'm first and foremost, I believe I'm an artist at heart. I kind of ran from that a little bit in my youth, but I embrace it as a 42-year-old father of one. And as you get old, you start to know yourself a little bit better. And my 20s, I spent touring the nation in a rock and roll band, and probably a little funny, but I always had like Primitive Archer magazine or whatever, back there. It was hunting magazines. I was that guy that was, just always had my head stuck in a hunting magazine, thinking about, making bows or, any of this stuff. And so whenever I got a little bit older and I wanted a new bow, I didn't have the money for a new bow. So I thought, I've seen these guys do this for so long, I'm gonna figure it out. And I got a vise and a farrier's rasp and a draw knife, and man, the rest was history. Once I made that first bow and flung that first arrow, boys, it was stick a fork in me. I'm done. Now listen, I've been shooting traditional since I was 14 years old, and so it was just something that I was always kind of drawn to. Just the simplicity and the romance of traditional archery. but as I started to make this stuff, it was okay. I made a bow. All right. Well, what? Man, I guess I need to figure out how to make an arrow. Let's up the ante a little bit. So the next year, I started getting into making these cane arrows and primitive arrows, and then of course the next logical step is the flint knapping side of things. And man, that's been one of the most addictive hobbies and pastimes that I believe I've ever taken part in. It really is. It's something that you can just go out and in 30, 45 minutes, and it's not a big time investment. You can really just sit down and make something real quick, and it just
Is it relaxing to you to do
it absolutely is.
I was going to say it, even though it sounds very technical, it can probably be mindless once you
look, it's so easy a caveman can do it, right? It is very complex, and but at the same time, it once you get the hang of the mechanics and stuff, our brains, I think, are somewhat pre-wired to understand these things, because it really 100%. Goes back to the core of us as people, as
just
humans.
like hunting.
It's in our genetics.
It is. Yeah. I mean, this was I believe flint knapping is like the first skill, and it's what led. Well, I mean, I guess really probably the first skill was hunting. It was procuring food, right? But having those stone tools is what really set us apart from the rest of the animal kingdom out there. You know what I mean? And so
when you pick up a piece of, I want to ask you what kind of materials later, but so do you look at it and turn it over and you picture how many you can get out of this, and then you just sit down and just bring them to life?
Yeah, it's similar. Looking at a rock, you never really know what's inside of it, so you got to get in it and see if it's. Sometimes they'll be froze up, and they won't be just one solid piece. But let's say I'm sitting there looking at one good solid piece of rock. It's similar to studying on a puzzle, on a Rubik's cube or something. I mean, there's strategy involved. There's I'm working out my first initial steps anyway. But what's so fun about it is no two rocks are the same, and no really two people would maybe even address working that rock the same. So as you go, if I make one little tiny mistake, well, then that's going to affect my next 5 or 6 things that I have to do. And so, it's just this fun little puzzle that you get to kind of work out. So
I just hope people can appreciate it. I don't know if people can appreciate. I'm sitting here with this stuff in front of me as we talk, and it is razor sharp.
It's amazing
and perfect. I would say it's just shocking, the knife, everything, but the broadhead and the shape. And I mean, it is a serious, deadly weapon. I mean, I would be, if it wasn't the cane shaft and the turkey feather fletchings and everything else, he's so handmade, I wouldn't hesitate to shoot that at a deer and expect really high performance.
Yeah.
It is not, it's primitive, but his workmanship is, you can't appreciate it. We're just talking about it.
And now you hunt with this equipment as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This stuff works as good as anything else, as long as look, it's just like everything else with bow hunting, right? It's how well you tune your equipment. It's how it's shot placement. It's all of those things, right? But at the same time, it's just another one step further into the thing. So it's a lot more. There's a lot more opportunity probably for failure too, because.
So in preparation for this, I asked Chuck Sykes in Alabama, and I asked Jason here in Mississippi, Redding, about the
legality, whether it's stone points.
We don't want to point somebody towards something
for sure,
but it's got the same governing rules as regular archery equipment.
Yes, for the most part, to my knowledge, it's if your state says 7/8 wide, non-barbed, that's just referring to your point. It doesn't matter what it's made of. So, in Tennessee, I've been hunting with them for going on 11 years now.
Yeah. Now some states don't allow you to use chuck spears or atlatls, things like that. But I think what he's doing is pretty legit everywhere.
So when you talk about a rock, let's just start with what it can't just be any kind of rock.
No,
what are you looking for?
Well, man, any guys shoot a BB gun when he's a kid?
Yeah.
All right. Right. So I don't know about y'all, but one of the first real good whoopings I got was the first time I shot out my neighbor's glass, shooting at a bird, shooting at a squirrel, something like that. But if you've ever looked at a pane of glass that's been hit by a BB, it causes a conical fracture. All right, and that cone that comes out of there is a certain angle every time.
Huh.
All right, so we figured that out as early humans, and that unlocked everything. So what you do is essentially you pick up a rock and another rock that you think is potential material, and smack, you hit it. And if it breaks in that concordial fracture, and if it breaks in a particular way, right, and it's real easy to pick up what that is, then it's going to work. Now, some stuff like shale, all right, we pick up a piece of shale, that's going to break off very angular and just kind of fall apart on you real quick. So let's say we go out in a creek and we pick up something and it breaks and it's got that cone and we're like, man, we think we got something here. All right. So as far as the quality of that and its workability, the smoother it is, the better it's going to work. Okay, so if it's a real rough rock, but it breaks, like limestone, for instance, just straight up limestone will break with a concordial fracture. But you're going to have to be, King Kong to pressure flake it or actually perk it because it's so tough. But also, if you think about limestone, super duper rough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you guys know you can knap glass,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this glass of water, you feel how smooth that glass feels. That's how real high-grade chert or flint will feel. So you'll break it open. The glassier, waxier, smoother it is, the easier that it's going to be able to be worked.
So where do you find flint? I mean, Tiger, you ever found any flint?
Yeah.
Yeah, where some Native Americans left it laying here and there, but no, naturally I wouldn't know.
Man, you got to dig in and find it. It's pretty widespread. I mean, in this area, it's in the creeks and stuff. It's hard. It is hard to source.
I was always heard ours in this Black Prairie would have to trade for it from outside areas, but I don't know that.
There was a lot there. So the area that I live in is one of the most flint-rich areas, especially in the South, at least. But the material, my favorite material, local material, is called Fort Payne, and sometimes referred to as Dover. And that Dover they found Dover points, out in like Colorado. I mean, they found that stuff has been one of the most widely distributed and traded materials that there is. So
I've just always wondered, and when I think about the Native Americans that used to live here, I mean, we love finding artifacts, but I just kind of try to picture one sitting on a rock somewhere, making his own head to go hunt with, and how long would it take him to do that? I don't think you can really answer this question, but how long would it take you to make it?
As a modern napper, a hunting point can, that will just work. That is, we can just sit down and have something that we can put on an arrow. Maybe not the nicest thing in the world. You can make them as quick as 15 or 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you find a flake, so that's the thing is, you pick up a big rock, right? And I may take a big rock and want to turn that into that knife that Toxie had in his hand earlier, Now, in that, there's going to be all kinds of waste, right? You're going to have, and these guys, I get this on the internet all the time, man, there's so much waste. Look at all these waste flakes that are all around you. Well, those are, you would pick those up, and with a piece of deer antler like this right here, and
It looks like something you killed, Dudley.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
But you could take this tool right here and shape a flake pretty super duper fast. I mean, no big deal.
So he's got a 6-inch tine or a spike, so you press that against the flint and
yeah, absolutely.
Pressure flakes come off.
Yeah, this is essentially you're taking the edge of a flake or a biface.
And you guys think this is how the Native Americans did it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's they've been testing this stuff for over 100 years or something.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the Danish daggers, and there's some stuff over in that part of the world where that stuff was actually carried on into recorded history. There was like a guild to make these Danish daggers, and these guys, it was this whole thing. They would like kind of break it up into, because there's these, like where you stitch the handles, there's some super high level stuff that they would not even really teach until, but anyway, yes, absolutely. We've been trying to now look, I don't think that exactly what we're doing is, obviously we can't rewind and go back. And I think that there's obviously there's more than one way to skin a cat. But some of the tools like this or like a deer ulna, we'll find in the recorded history, with the points that have the same type of wear pattern and have embedded in them little pieces of shirt. And so there's things that tell us that we're on the right track for sure.
So yeah, he's in layman's terms, he's starting with a big chunk, and he uses like you said a deer ulna, isn't that a ball joint?
Yeah, it's when you're looking at deer, it's just below what kind of resembles their elbow, right? It's like that third bone or whatever right here. It's actually a 2-part bone that if you ever do disconnect it, you got to work that cartilage out of there and you can separate it. And it's that smaller one that comes off.
The tibia or the fibula? Which one would it be?
Listen here, I don't want to lie to you.
Back here's a knife.
Here's one that I've got worked down, and it's here, pass that over there.
Look at that.
It's similar,
but it's interesting. He has a bucket with a little skirt around it with a bunch of pockets, and
just like someone's toolbox.
Yeah, 100%.
And you've got bigger pieces. I think some of them are called like boppers, and
yeah.
He's got stuff that's like copper tipped that almost looks like the tip of a pencil that you're doing more finesse work with.
Are you napping with this?
Yeah. That's actually my bevel tool and my notching tool when I'm doing some aboriginal type work. So yeah,
that'll knock the flint, the piece of flint off.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys have looked at.
I feel that.
You guys have looked at arrowheads and stuff, right? So you know how it's got that wavy wavy thing. So
that's like your knife had just a beautiful serrated edge to it.
So those we refer to those as flake scars. And what those flake scars are essentially are like little frozen records of shock waves, right? From the impact imparted to the piece.
From with the big rock hitting it,
right? So that happens from the macro level all the way down, right? Yeah. And that's why, especially when I do flint knapping demonstrations, I always like to work on really big rock because it's a whole lot easier to see, and it's cool to watch. You know what I mean? You're just seeing something just as a man. I mean, it's like, come on, rock. Rock.
Now have arrow.
But the same principles apply all the way down to the microlithic stage. They really do. And so it just some of the dynamics sort of change. So there's two basic types of flint knapping. There's percussion, right? With the like we were just talking about, you take big rock, hit other rock, pow, and then the next is pressure, and that's where there's just a buildup of pressure. And I'll demonstrate that right now for you guys. This is one I was working on earlier, actually yesterday, and so all I'm going to do this would have been like basically a caveman's pocket knife. This is a replica of about a 8,000 or 9,000 year old point called a Lost Lake. And what they would do with these, once they had these made and they had them hafted probably to a piece of bone, they'd use them and they'd dull them up a little bit, and then they would turn around and sharpen them back up. And what that looks like is essentially just coming in here right to that edge. And what I'm doing is I'm gonna put this between my legs a little bit so I'm leaning in and putting that inward pressure, and then my legs are gonna come together and help me snap that little flake off. Okay, and come out from the underneath side, right? So here we go again. Wow.
Look at that.
I'm going to go ahead and do a series of these.
That sounds like me getting out of bed in the morning.
Don't it though? My knee pops like that every day. And this stuff, doing this stuff right here, or make it worse on you too. So
it sounds like me every step I take these days.
You can see how this will create this little serrated edge.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's
We got
okay.
that. We got that
is-
ulna. Pass me that ulna.
Here, I got a question. Though. It's killing me. I got to ask this. So I see that it's just fascinating, and the knife and the bigger pieces. But I'm looking at this broadhead, and it is unbelievable. The serrations aren't a 1/16 of an inch.
Right.
Those are like a quarter, a half
Now,
inch.
you see how that where I wanted to switch to this tool right
Tiny
here.
little.
That
Okay.
Now look at the difference.
Yeah,
Right.
it has to be
And so,
tiny because
yeah,
I
so
mean,
this little
and they're perfect. I mean, literally looks like it was machine tooled with something.
Okay, so he's turning it on the edge there.
right. See this is going to be
Look at those.
in that vertical motion. And Toxie, I want you to feel how sharp this right here is going to be. Just coming fresh off with nothing more.
So, Will, that thing you got in your hands, it kind of looks like it's in bottomland already, the colors of it.
So that right there,
That is unbelievable.
That's
Y'all got to see this now, but I can just. What's really sad is that he just used a piece of deer bone and in about a minute went down the side of this
And
probably 3-inch piece of rock, and it's way sharper than I can resharpen my pocket knives.
and really, and we didn't lose a whole lot of width.
No.
And
Look
so
at this.
It is,
is
so
crazy.
the serrations on it look like it was machine tooled by a knife company.
right,
They're so even and perfect.
So that particular type of rock right there, that's a variety of Dover that me and some of my local buddies that collect this stuff, it's funny, I was thinking about this yesterday. We call it the camo Dover. We love it because it's camo Dover, but like specifically the camo is
Bottomland.
right?
That's what we like it.
Yeah.
How about that?
Hey,
That is beautiful.
yeah, it is.
What a
It really is.
craftsman
It's-
you are.
It's not just beautiful and perfect. I'm telling you, it is performance.
Oh yeah, it's sharp.
You know, it's funny because I've heard friends that are really into this and studied and even done a little bit of archaeology and collected, and they talked about the engineering, and I was like, engineering. I mean, what was engineering? And they were talking
Right.
like the technology changed from this kind of rock to that, and I'm thinking to myself, but it really was. I mean, it's a great guess for us to open our mind up. It was the same thing, the same principles as we apply to all this stuff today.
100%.
It was just obviously much simpler. That's it, though.
Absolutely.
So that thing looks like it's about, say, 4 or 5 inches long. I would have thought that would have been like a spear point, but you're saying that would have been a knife?
Yes, and so the difference, and I make that that assumption based on the fact that in the record those will be we'll find them beveled. And so look, I've got some actual artifacts here with me today that are pretty nice. So these are actual. This is a lost lake, just like what I'm showing you. So this is a stage 1 lost lake right here. And you can see it's very similar to the one that I've got right there, right? Now, this one right here is the same thing. I want you to look at the base. You see how the base is almost identical?
It's been
I
worked
get it.
down.
Yeah.
Now, do you notice the shape on it, right? It's kind of got that rhomboid cross section, like a parallelogram, right? And how that happens is exactly what I was just showing you guys. What this is like your grandpa's old favorite.
It's got the little bitty blade on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this has been sharpened down. This particular one would have been real big, but this was somebody's favorite knife for years and years, and he just used it until it was damn near used up, and then there it is. So,
Wow.
You want to see that? Check it out.
No,
Just
don't throw
because-
that thing.
So, guys, y'all got to watch this on
I don't
YouTube.
throw it, man.
Hey, y'all didn't get to see that, but that was a cast. That wasn't
And
a
I
real
didn't-
point. I was trying
okay.
to I was trying to
Okay.
get him to jump out of his skin, but he caught it. All right.
You see me? I dove out of the way so I wouldn't get blamed.
that was
each-
not a $5,000 point I threw at
Yeah, I
you,
was
so.
about to say each side has a single bevel on it. So
That's
it doesn't come together in the middle.
That's correct, and that's so. What they did, they would. Where's that point that I was just working on? Let me work on that just a little bit more, so I'll show you guys. So what they would do, and it's funny. You can tell they refer to them. Artifact collectors refer to them as right hand bevel or left hand bevel, right? And these bevels, I've heard. Lord, there's so much mythology that surrounds this stuff, right? I'm sure you guys have probably heard, that they dropped hot water on
I've
rocks,
heard
right? And that's completely not a thing. But also, I've heard that the bevels were to, it's like a beveled broadhead. They're to make them spin this way in flight or whatever. No, what happens is as you as we try to sharpen this, if I was gonna, how can I put this simply? The most efficient way to save the width of this blade is for me to only pressure flake on one side of this. So I've just did that one side.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn around and I'm going to do this side
so
right here.
that's a knife,
This is a knife.
right?
So we just skin a mastodon with this thing, right? And now we gotta turn around and get it sharp again. So, and you can see this isn't gonna take me just a couple
I mean,
minutes.
he's just working right through it. Sound like somebody cracking their knuckles.
Right. Yeah.
So if there was 4 or 5 Native Americans and they killed a buffalo or something, there might be 2 or 3 of them working and one of them just sharpening the tools all the time. I bet they could get it cut up in a hurry.
Well, now listen. So this tool right here would have been a fine knife blade, but when it comes to killing a critter and gutting it and processing all that meat out, honestly, the waste flakes that this stuff produces they're just listen. I was standing in a just covered in blades, right? I mean, what it took me in an hour to make this yesterday at my feet of debitage, I had flakes that we got something down right here. You guys are going to walk over. We're all going to grab up these scalpels, essentially, and we've just got the sharpest knives that you've ever used. I mean, and they're disposable.
Right.
And
Right.
you find them in the field, and
Oh,
it's
for sure.
just a little chip,
Everywhere, yeah.
But you can hold it between your index finger and your thumb, and it is sharp.
Yes. Yep. You know, I was so uneducated about it. I thought those were just waste flakes from
No,
trying to build arrowheads
Right.
or
I
spear
was the
points.
same
But
way.
it's
Let
so
me-
much
let me-
more. Sounds like from him that knives were so much more useful than arrowheads or
What
spear
is
points
that?
anyway. So much of it was cutting tools.
Let me blow
What?
you guys' mind real
Look
quick.
at this.
So this is obsidian. I'm just going to take one quick flake from this.
Wait.
Obsidian is
You gotta
that
get the
shiny
video on this
black
Yeah,
stuff.
this is volcanic glass is
Yeah.
what this is. And just in recent history, they've used this little tiny flakes from this stuff in like eye surgery and some different types of surgery, especially back in I think that was like the 60s or something. But yeah, man, this stuff actually breaks close to on the edge is almost one molecule. It's like I forget the actual measurement, but it's just barely over a molecule thick on the edge.
Hold on one thing. So that what you've got in your hand is that a femur or antler?
This right here is a moose. This is the base of a
of a moose horn.
right
Gotcha.
there. Yeah,
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you call that piece? That moose piece?
This is a billet.
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 Yeah, a lot of times guys refer to them as boppers or
Yeah,
billet. You
I've
know,
heard
it's
of
just a piece of bone. Now, honestly, obviously, like here in Mississippi or where I grew up in Arkansas, we didn't have moose running around right back then either. But I'm sure that there was some big megafauna out there that had some big, heavy, dense bones. And if they didn't, another thing that I like to use, especially with larger when I'm working larger stuff, is actually wood billets. You can have a big piece of dogwood,
Mhm.
which you may see if you guys watch some of my videos. You'll see me with a big old looks like a caveman club.
Yeah.
I'm just wow.
Dense interlocking grain.
Yeah, yes, and that's why dogwood is so perfect. But anyway, let's get back to how we're going to butcher a deer. I'm going to take one flake.
Look at that. One lick. Oh, look at
All right.
that.
Now,
Ooh, I think
wanna
I
talk
cut
about
you.
sharp?
Look at that.
so I could sit down and take a lot of flakes and reduce that into a biface. All right, so let's hit on that real quick. So this is a spall, and I've taken one flake, right?
Spall is this big chunk of obsidian.
Correct.
That's
So this is a spall. This that I'm holding in my hand was a flake taken off of a much larger rock. And so instead of calling it a flake, we're going to up it one and call it a spall. So I've just taken one flake off of this spall. Now, if some of the earliest tools were what we call uniface tools, right? So they would take a flake like that and only work one side, just a little bit of something on one side. And as time went on and as we as people started to get more just better at this and our brains were growing and we've got all this extra brain capacity, we started getting better at napping and we started to knock off flakes off of both sides. And then we realized we could take a big rock and reduce it from both sides and make it thinner and thinner and thinner until we're getting to what we call a biface. because it's been worked on both faces, and we can really refine this into a better tool. But honestly, there's not much better tool than that little flake in your hand right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right? Look at
Shard
that.
of glass. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what
but-
it looks like.
That's exactly what it is.
But the same thing happens. And listen, we could go out. I could take you to a creek right now. We could pick up a rock and knock one flake off of it. It is local to this area, because that obsidian, we're only going to find that out in the Pacific Northwest or Mexico, or somewhere where they got volcanoes. But man, look, just from a survivalist standpoint, right? Like, just knowing that you can go out, just what I just said, just taking two rocks and just hitting them together and seeing what's on the inside of that. And if you can come off with something it doesn't take much, that's just a kind of got that waxy feel, you'd be surprised, man. I mean, it's really.
So you took that bopper, and I guess you're putting horizontal pressure.
So not so much. So the best way to describe this, man, is so essentially what I'm doing, that cone that I was talking about, right, from the BB, it's that comes off on like 100 degrees.
Right.
So I'm visible. You ever see a peace sign, right?
Yeah.
So straight down force will impart this
Gotcha.
cone, right? And so with a biface, or with a rock, as I'm working this rock right here, right? So as we hit straight down on this, I know that when I hit straight down, that's going to break at this angle. So that's going to, if this rock is at this angle, that's going to take that much of that away.
Oh, okay.
Right? A small portion of that whole cone, if we were to hit it in the center. But we're hitting on an edge. So you get that portion of a cone, and then from manipulating the angle of the rock and the weight of my blow, I can predictively remove material from this piece of rock. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. So once we figured that out, we're like, oh, it's not random. We know that, hey, I can predictively remove this stuff. That's when it turns into a puzzle, into a Rubik's cube. You know what I mean? That you can work and unlock beautiful, super functional, life-saving, world-changing technology. I mean, these were the computers of yonder yore or whatever, right? I mean, it really was. This was cutting edge technology 20,000 years ago.
Yeah, had to have it to survive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's pretty sharp, man. Hey, look, next time you kill a turkey or a deer or something like that, once you take and just cut you a little meat up with it, or just do a little something, man. Just
So you're saying I can keep this?
man, yeah, put that in your pocket. Put that in
Golly.
your pocket.
I'd be scared to put that in my pocket.
We cut you. So, and again, a lot of people can't see this. I know we'll show some video too, but my question too for the novice, when you saw these notches in the back, equal on both sides, just like if you were to draw an arrow on a piece of paper just to do a emoji with it or something, I always thought that was cool. You could wrap it like you did with the
absolutely.
arrowhead.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But why would they do a knife that way?
Well, so I've got an interesting hypothesis on this, and I've come about this from talking with good napper buddies, and I've got a couple archaeologist buddies, and we like to sit and
Philosophize.
talk about this. Yeah, that's right. And I think the one that my buddy Mike Conkle, who is an amazing napper and a mentor to me, and my other buddy Shannon Walker, we all talk about how it's amazing to us, right? Like these lost lakes, like those two casts that I showed you, right? Those are found very, very far from each other, right? Like states away.
Yeah.
Look at the width on that base of both of them. They're almost identical. And throughout the record, when we find these, they're almost the same. So, I mean, you reckon cavemen they had a manual that they were passing out?
It's
like
the Sears Roebuck catalog of.
Well, I mean, think about how stories and information is handed down, right? So it's just, it blows my mind that people that definitely never met each other still are making things so similar. And the only thing that makes sense to me is that they were hafting these things with something very similar that doesn't change. Now, when I first got into this stuff, everybody told me, oh yeah, they have a wood handle on it, right? Because that makes sense because wood is everywhere and it's super easy to work, especially with stone tools. But what makes me think that these Lost Lakes especially weren't wood handles is that width of that base.
Right.
So what's consistent? What's the same thing almost everywhere? That's bones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, and they found some too that have been hafted. But I think that's the deal, is that they had a specific bone, you know what I mean, a certain size of deer and a specific bone that fit your hand good, and it was easy to take from, you know, if it was a deer or whatever, and so that's what dictated some of those shapes and
The
some
handle.
of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what's so fascinating to me about all of that is, you know, like you said, a lost lake is a lost lake. Obviously, they had a different name for it if there was a name, but you can look up these books and images on the internet and just like Google projectile points,
Right.
and there's hundreds of them and they have a name.
Yeah, well, and they're usually named by the person that found them first or whatever, right? The scientist that was going through, and they're named after towns or whatever.
But like you said, they could be 400 miles apart
yes,
and
but
be the
culture,
exact same.
exactly, and that typically those were done within a certain culture too, right? Like a time period of people. So are you familiar with the paleo, the Clovis? It's probably one of the most
And you need
famous.
to describe the
Right. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
I guess you're going to ask about the flute, right?
The flute.
That's what everybody talks about. It's a flute. And so the flutes are pretty fascinating, really, because these were some of the oldest points, right, in North America. These are some of the very oldest points found in North America. Matter of fact, I read a thing the other day that's going to challenge our conceptions of how long people have been in America. But anyway, they found a cache up in close to the Pacific Northwest of a bunch of Clovises that are radio dated back to like 14,000 years ago, which is a few thousand further than ever thought before. But so those earliest people are actually making some of the hardest points to replicate now, and it's mostly because of that flute. So I've got one this is an unfluted Clovis right here, and it's a time-consuming, very well contoured piece. The contour is everything, and you really have to be very focused and very detail oriented, whereas like a Lost Lake I can like whoop out pretty quick, but these just making this preform is actually, and so I've got all this time in it, right? And now
you've got to
flute this.
You got to take a big old chunk off the bottom
off the back, which is one of the easiest ways to just break what you're working on. The success rate is, it's kind of like flipping a coin a little bit, especially when you're learning.
Wow.
But what they would do that flute for, these were actual spears, right? Mastodon killers, like a thrusting spear, not a dart point. Mm-hmm. Well, some of them actually were definitely dart points. Again, I'm not an archaeologist, and a lot of this is my own opinion, so take this with a grain of salt. But they would make, essentially the deal is this is a pretty beefy, strong point, right? And this thick point is going to be pretty hard to haft onto a dart or haft onto a big spear. So they figured out that taking these two flute flakes would make this base super duper thin. That'll make a much stronger haft, and then they can wrap that, and then they've still got all this meat right here that'll withstand multiple uses probably. And because this took all this time. And man, can you imagine? Going up to something like a damn mastodon, you know what I mean? All of us, like, let's say we're gonna take him down,
Come on, fellers.
Yeah,
Hercules.
Let's get him.
And by hafting, he means like you split the end of a stick
That's
in
right.
half, so it splits, and then you put the point in there.
Right, haft, H-A-F-T, right? So that's attaching the hafting that or attaching that to the
easy to remember because you
have to
perfectly. A perfect one is exactly in the middle and halfway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they work on that Clovis and then have to take the final step is
Yeah,
shifting that
so
flute
this
out of there.
is this last one, and it's I'm prepared to do it today.
Oh,
it's
no.
No,
it's
no.
no. It's gonna. This is one strike. This is one strike. We're gonna make it or break it real quick.
Get the camera out.
So
Here we
so
go.
this may or may not work. But I got faith. Anybody got a penny on 'em?
I don't
Quarter.
have a penny on me now.
Ain't got a penny.
I got one in my desk.
Oh, we got change.
You're looking at a room full of people that literally have no sense.
Yeah.
There ain't a cent between none of you, huh?
Vandy's got some.
So yeah, this
You
is.
can't hide money.
I'm gonna use my modern. So this is the modern equivalent to this. This is a lead filled copper cap. Now, these two things are just about the same, and they work almost exactly the same. It's just that this one right here is a whole lot more expensive to get, and it wears out a lot faster. So I don't use them. I kind of
That would be the moose pedicle thing.
yeah. So I tell them all the time, look, I'm more interested in being a craftsman than a caveman. Yeah.
Right.
So sometimes I'm not above using modern tools.
Here comes Vandy with
But you got a penny.
some sense.
So I'm gonna use this on my pinky here, so as an anvil. So what they would do, what we think
You ever
they would do.
does this ever cut your hands up doing all this?
Oh Lord, yes. Yeah, this is a blood sport, man, for sure. So one of the main things to really note is they had to set up this little nipple right here, and there's a whole lot of work that goes in to just setting up this one little platform right there that I'm going to try to strike
On the base of the point.
This right here, I'm just going to rough up this edge and just strengthen the edge of that. So hopefully more of that blow, instead of it going into a real sharp little edge and just deteriorating super quick. The stronger I can make this edge, the more energy will be transferred through the piece. Does that make sense?
Good old physics.
Yeah, physics. That's exactly right. Yeah, this is just
I bet you made an A in physics in high school, didn't you?
shoot. Well, I barely made it out of high school. Physics.
Yeah, I had to have a tutor to pass physics.
So I'm gonna sit this in here and just.
So you're putting the penny on the end of the point.
Now listen, that's kind of my secret thing here.
What,
But
edit that out.
Yeah, but
No,
if that
it's-
slips,
it is-
it's going to hit your.
No, it's. So what I'm trying to do when you strike a rock, most of that force goes to the opposite side of that rock and will rebound, and there's all this shock that happens, right? And you know what a shock wave looks like. Bending like this doesn't do good with rocks. So what we try to do is dampen anything, all that shock. And so most of this shock, I know it's coming over here, so I'm gonna put my pinky but I don't want my pinky to. I want to play this guitar here in a minute,
Right.
So I'm gonna put this penny in here so my pinky doesn't break. But so anyway, so I'm gonna grab this dude. And
Oh, man,
I
here we
say,
go.
this is
Stand by
kind
with
of
the
a-
Disney Band-Aids, Mac.
Yeah.
So I'm squeezing this real hard on the sides, and I've got it pressed in to that anvil piece.
Wagers?
That hit my guitar.
It's a guitar pick.
That
It's
flute.
the exact size of a guitar pick.
Look at that.
All right, so and we had success. That
It
was
looked like
actually-
it worked
that
like a
was-
champ.
That was really good. So here we go. Let's look at this. So they would take, and I'm not gonna do two of them. You ready with the camera there?
No, don't do two of them.
So there's that flute, and these flutes would typically end in a little hinge like that. That was just about perfect. Didn't go quite down the middle, but you can see.
Look at that.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy?
And now you can see how much thinner that is, and you can imagine if I turned it around and flute this side.
Is the second side more critical since it's thinner?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like so.
Yeah,
I
a
mean,
little more brittle. Yeah,
I nailed that. That was a really good. That was a really good flute.
modest guy too.
So I nailed. No, but that's the thing. It's like I nailed that one.
did.
Now when I turn it over, the pressure's on to be.
But
able
I
to do
noticed
that.
Right.
he had a lot of force or something pretty heavy. But just so you know, he was, and he what about the third time?
Yeah. Well, I
was
missed
just
it. I missed
barely, but he was just I mean,
Barely.
I would rather miss. I would rather have a
Oh,
miss
no
strike
question.
or miss than have a miss strike.
I can't describe to
Okay.
people how
Yeah,
So-
had I
Close he was to trying to miss it. He was just
for sure.
barely striking it.
yeah, that you can see where I struck that. Had I struck that a 16th of an inch higher,
yeah.
it would we would have failed. And so that's just done through repetition.
Yeah, and it's like he had a way to do it that's consistent, just like a baseball player
yeah.
steps up to the plate and does his
Unbelievable.
thing.
Dudley, you're gonna freak out when you see
Yeah,
this.
that's the practice, man.
Yeah.
That's just I beat up a lot of rock. You
So
know?
back in the day, that had to be a frustrating thing for those guys trying to make that.
Can you imagine if that was life and death? What I just did.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the
As we used
ability
to
to be able
say-
to do that. If I didn't have that ability, then you're gonna starve.
So Clovis points have been found all over North America.
Yeah, to my knowledge. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's some other cultures too that have very similar type of process of making as well. But-
Unbelievable.
so yeah,
Okay.
so there we go. That's a Clovis. So
Crowd's on his feet.
Had to hit, you had to hit.
Like we got that deserves an ovation. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I saw it. Yeah.
I was trying. Well, so Bobby said that hey, maybe bring something and finish it here, and I thought, well, what can I finish? And I immediately was like, well, I'll finish up a little Lost Lake, show you guys how to. And then I thought, well, it'd be super cool because everybody knows Clovis, but kind of a stretch to try to pull it off hand fluting one for you.
Look
guys,
at Dudley's.
Well, there it
Look at
is.
Dudley's expression.
And
that worked out.
what's so cool is, halfway up the point
It stops.
where it stops,
right. In
it's
that
like a
little pin.
shelf.
Yes.
So the top of the stick that
yes.
you've hafted
Would bump.
butts up to
Butts
that.
up. So
Yeah, if you're
exactly.
really good, they'll match on both sides.
And that's exactly right. And so that's what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to be arrogant, but I nailed it on the first side. But that's now the challenge for
Right.
myself is to replicate that on the other side.
How in the world do you do that?
So, and you get lucky sometimes, and sometimes you don't. So
Hey, you want to
So
try?
when you hit it, the point of that is when you hit it perfect, you take really good care of it. And back in the day, they would be really, really careful with that.
oh man, yeah, highly prized. And the guys that were able to pull that off, I feel like this was kind of some of the hierarchy.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I've always thought, and I could be wrong, that some of the older people, obviously the older people that have been doing it longer are better, but they may have wounded their leg 20 years
like in a
ago,
tribal
and that's like
situation.
Yeah.
that's like their job because
Oh,
they
I see.
can't hunt anymore.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, we're just getting into this, and we've only covered the points. I mean, you brought these self bows that you made.
Yeah.
You brought some of this brain tanned leather from deer.
Man, how'd you like the smell of that? That's my favorite smell.
Smelled like a campfire.
Dudley won't sleep for 10 days.
Yeah.
And then you brought this amazing Martin guitar with a tobacco sunburst on it.
Yeah, that's
And,
my baby there.
So we got to get into some of
She's
that.
got a little nick on her now too from that Clovis. That's
Yeah, it hit it. I thought it was going to hit a string.
yeah, that's kind of cool.
Boing.
So let's move right into the eras, and
Okay.
and then we'll go to fletching, and then go to your bows. But tell us about these eras.
That arrowhead's still the most impressive thing I've seen.
Oh man, I love that.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, cane. We call cane nature's carbon arrow. You guys shoot carbons.
Yeah, it's tapered.
So what's
Also,
awesome? What's
Yep.
awesome about these cane arrows, man? I don't know if you guys don't know how long y'all been bow hunting, but before our carbon arrows, we had aluminum, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And those, what happened whenever you shot those aluminum?
24-13.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
All day
yeah.
long.
25-17.
Yeah, and so you remember
Yep.
when they came out with the carbons and just how like durable carbons are,
Oh, yeah.
right? I mean, you can't bend them, can't hardly break them. That's the so we in the traditional archery realm, we all kind of love our woods,
Mhm.
our woodies or where it's at, cedar arrows. But those right there are the equivalent to a carbon arrow, man. You just almost can't break them. Once now listen, they're hard to make. It takes the patience of Job to do it, but man, they turn out with a
and
really
that
great,
cane makes it's tapered, so it's smaller in diameter on the feather fletch end.
yeah. So you
and
got
so
that weight forward.
it can clear your shelf easier.
Yeah, you got that
and,
extra FOC and
Yeah.
And those are turkey feather fletchings that you've made somehow yourself.
oh yeah. I went out and shot a turkey in the face. And
So do you
took
make
his feathers?
do you make your own pitch glue or whatever?
Yes,
And-
sir. Yeah.
And then when he hafts it on there, I've always called it sinew. Some people call it sinew.
Yeah.
But
Yankees.
so you're getting the sinew off of like your deer back straps or whatever, the silver skin.
Which
That's
is
what you're
thread,
tying with?
threads, yeah.
And then you
That's
wrap it around while it's wet, and then when it dries, it shrinks.
Not just wet, chewed.
Chewed. Okay.
So yeah, so you can kind of pre-wet them, but the saliva in your mouth actually starts to break down the sinew and creates a little bit of its own like hide glue. And there's really no modern equivalent to it because it, like I said, it produces its own glue a little bit, and it shrinks when it dries. So it's, I mean, a lot of guys, I'll use artificial sinew. Don't do that. Get the real stuff. Like there's just nothing better.
Yeah, because the extruding, there's a protein in red meat that extruded will be like a glue, which is like when you're blending meat. That's from my old meat science days. When you're blending meat,
Yeah, how you get
if you blend it very long at all and then cook it into whatever sausage, it'll just be like, a hot dog or really, really
Right.
tough. And the more that protein is extruded, then it's just like a glue.
Mhm.
Right.
And,
And
that's what
like
he's,
when
talking about.
you're,
He's extruding that. He's using the saliva to break it down.
when you're eating fried fish that's on the bone,
That's
and
right.
your fingers feel sticky
Mhm.
when you're done, that's what that is.
Wow. Wow.
Man, I'm just learning all kind of stuff.
Yeah, the glue and the sinew.
So you're taking the sinew off a deer
Mhm.
and then drying it and chewing it and then putting it back on there?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you really want to try to get it super clean whenever you whenever you go to dry it out. I mean, I scrape them really good,
Mhm.
because you are going to turn around and put it in your mouth. But
Does your wife ever kiss you?
not since I grew this beard, man. About 10 years ago. So
Are you chewing air or sinew again?
I mean that you do the spin test on that thing,
Yeah.
and when you look at it, it's not as straight. From
from
every
end-
5 inches is not perfectly
Right.
straight, but
Yeah.
from
It
end to
spins
end,
well.
it is perfectly straight.
It is.
That's right.
And then you've got those big
Just like the
helicals
bow.
on the feathers and the tapered arrow.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's arrows. Honestly, like bows are great. I love bows. I love making bows. Bows are easy to make.
Mhm.
Arrows, I just assume have somebody make them for me.
I tried
If I
once.
can talk
but
my
it's
buddy
so-
into doing it, I will. Hey man, I'll make you a bow if you'll make me a set of arrows. I do that all the time.
So is it the arrowhead or is the shaft?
It's the arrows.
Yeah.
Man, arrowhead's no big deal either.
Yeah.
Like I said, that arrowhead right there. Now that particular arrowhead is made out of North Carolina rhyolite. That is it's akin to obsidian in that it's a volcanic deposit. But my buddy James Parker, he says it's man rock
Mhm.
because it's literally the toughest stuff to work that there is, and you almost can't break it. He and I, there's some videos if you look back. He and I last spring he took a Danish dagger and we were throwing it into a tree just like you throw a knife. We were just throwing a stone knife into a tree. Man, couldn't break. Now you could take that knife right there and throw it into the tree twice maybe before it burinated and took a bigger broken half. But rhyolite, not so much.
So what you explained earlier, and I'm so fascinated about the fletchings and the twist because I can remember shooting it. I wanted a 6% twist. This has got to be like 10 or 12.
Yeah. I love a heavy twist.
Yeah, this has got some more twist than
Slow
I've ever
that
seen.
arrow down. I don't care.
Stabilize.
I'm
all
only
this.
shooting at 10 yards.
But it's fascinating because it's actually, I was like, you got a fletching jig you did this with or not? And he said, no, let me tell you. So describe as best you can how you got these in a perfect, all of them are the same distance and they're all the exact same twist. That's fascinating.
So I grew up reading Primitive Archer magazine. And in Primitive Archer, there was always all these like how-to type articles for this type of stuff. And I read in one of them, I don't remember where it was, but it's this, they showed making this little triangle of leather essentially. And you put a little, just 3 lines, like your feathers go, and slide that over. It's got a little hole in it, and you slide that over the shaft, and then you can stick your 3 feathers through there. All right, so you got your feathers. Now I can tie that front end of that. Right now, you just take and slide that little piece of leather to the back side, so it'll hold the back side of that. And once you get there, you just turn it just a little bit and get the twist that you need, and it'll just sit there and hold it for you while you make your wrap. And then whenever you get done with your wrap, you can kind of lay that feather over a little bit and put your hide glue or your, in this case, super glue. Because like I said, I'm more interested in being a craftsman than a caveman. But
so that's a very primitive version of a Bitsenberger jig.
Yeah.
100%.
And I don't know that they necessarily, our ancestors necessarily did it like that, but shoot, man, an old feather
Works.
put it in a magazine, and
Yeah,
I've been doing it for a long
perfect.
time. Works great.
So what would that head weigh?
That one right there is 160 grains.
So when you're shooting, when you're hunting, you're up a tree and you've got one of these bows you've made. If you've got a 140-pound doe, she's standing there at 15 yards, and you shoot her through the lungs, are you going to get a complete pass through with that?
There's a lot of factors involved. If you're shooting a 55, 60-pound bow, yeah, definitely. But honestly, man, look, sometimes one hole is just as good as two. But yes, you definitely are losing some in penetration when it comes to primitive tackle. Absolutely.
Do you have to take that into consideration at where you're trying to hit the deer?
Well, look, no. Honestly, I'm always trying to hit the deer in the sweet spot every time, because there's nothing that makes up for. I don't care. There's nothing that makes up for shot placement. Y'all know that, right?
100%.
And so you put that in the right spot.
Well said, I would might add. Very well said.
Well, thank you. I mean, and that's something that's very important to me. I mean, this is not something that I've been doing my entire life, and I'm passionate about. And the last thing I want to do is be going out and wounding deer.
Yeah. Well, we were hitting on that at lunch a little bit. Why don't you tell everybody like how high you get in the tree and what's your maximum?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have to really change my tactics too much. A buddy of mine that I've hunted with for years and years, he hunts with a compound, and man, he is a stone cold killer, And my buddy Roy, he talks about skyjacking, and he does, and he'll get up there 25, way on up there, and that's great. You definitely have a serious advantage, but with the type equipment that I prefer to use, I think those steep downward angled shots, man. I mean, I don't want to get in the spine. I don't want to be getting into a bunch of, high end ribs. So what we do is, when we do hunt from tree stands, they're, 10, 12 foot up, maybe 15. And the focus is, my two buddies that I hunt with, that both use self bows. I mean, we strategize on this all year, and about cover and how can we change our stance from last year to get the jump on them, and just, it's just all about cover and staying low, so you keep those better angle, and you can get, two lungs as opposed to getting those single lung shots. But man, not a whole lot of difference.
That's what I found when I was hunting with the recurve or my dad's old longbow is you were picking a trail or one spot to hunt. Whereas with a compound, I would more or less just go to a really good area that had like a 30-yard radius of good around me.
Right.
Whereas with the recurve or a longbow, I was hunting like one specific trail in one scenario.
So we are, man, look, funnels for me is the name of the game, right? And not just funnels like natural funnels, but then like taking that natural funnel, and if there's a way that I can improve that natural funnel to pinpoint that focus, all the better, and man, I'm not above taking with my trees too, as far as getting cover. That's another thing I was going to say is you get the right spot, but you ain't quite got the right tree and right cover. Shoot, man, I'll take some rope, take some 550 cord and pull a beech tree, that's 10 foot over here, and pull that over into me, and just do whatever I can to get the cover, and like I say, just getting them funneled in there. I mean, I need 10, 15 yards, 15 yards max. Look, this equipment will work further out there, but I ain't good enough to put it out there. So,
well, a man's got to know his limitations.
Absolutely. Hey, and bow hunting's about getting close, ain't it?
That's right.
Yeah, Toxie had something at lunch he was saying.
That's like Barry Winslow said a long time ago, sitting with me and Cuz, and he was saying how I may have quoted this before, but it's just profound. Probably 35 years ago, he said he was worried about how we're getting so confused between archery and bow hunting, because he was, they were pioneers, really, and still will forever be one of the pioneers in modern bow hunting. But he said, I said, what do you mean archery bow hunting? what's the difference? He said, well, just think about it. Archery is how far can you be from the target and hit the bullseye. Bow hunting is about how close you can get yourself to the critter. And I might add, never make a bad shot. Of course, it's going to happen. But the intent is actually completely different. One is how far, one is how close.
Yeah.
And so the art, he's talking about the whole art of bow hunting is getting close. It's the exhilaration to me isn't like how far, and I mean, I'm not knocking it, because at the end of the day, we're not being the arbiters of ethics, but it is to say that you shouldn't be shooting at something you're not proficient at. Mm-hmm. So it could be 40 yards or whatever with the technology of today. Sure. I mean, maybe more could go wrong, but still the same principle is like, how far can I be accurate? And if I'm not accurate past 10, then it's 10. If, you know, we've taken so many bow hunting customers, clients, friends, people, and we have quite a few like recurve shooters, and they were saying, "What are you worried about taking someone not being as accurate?" I said, "No, I don't care what you shoot as long as you stay within your limits," just like he beautifully described. And so, if the problem all of us have, including me, you get excited and you do something beyond your limits. That's where we make mistakes.
Man, ain't that the truth?
I mean, you just do. And I've done it. I've shot too far at a turkey by mistake. Everybody makes mistakes, you know.
So why don't we talk now? Let's move toward the bows. What can you tell us about these bows you're making?
Oh man, yeah, you see this old snaky bow right here behind me.
That thing is
pass
so
this
cool.
around a little bit. So this is that's an Osage bow. That's
Osage, aka Bodock, aka horse apple,
yeah, hedge apple,
aka Maclura pomifera.
I'm surprised that it's so,
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
snaky instead of being straight.
Yeah. So like I told you, man, at heart, I'm an artist, and I love finding the beauty in nature and being able to try to help bring that out.
Beautiful.
So yeah, and it's like people talk about how beautiful that bow is, and I really don't think about that. Like, I did a great job on this bow. I saw that in the wood, and I'm like, you're dang right, that's beautiful. Look at that. Like, can you imagine that? And that's functional, you know.
Yeah.
So I've taken a deer with that bow right there too. I try to kill one with at least one with everything that I make.
Yeah,
but,
that is amazing.
But yeah.
So was this limb curved, or did you put all the curves in it?
No, so when you're building a self bow like this, you've got to find the longitudinal grain, the grain that's running the length of the limb, right? And however that grows dictates the front profile or shape of that limb.
So that started off as a trunk of a tree or a limb on a tree?
A trunk, yeah. That tree was about as big around as a 5-gallon bucket. So, and it had a bunch. You ever seen Osage and how it grows? I mean, it grows gnarly. There's dang branches coming out everywhere. So in every one of those crooks and bends right there, if you can imagine, that's where a limb or a knot or a cat face was.
Okay.
And so that grain will
wrap
flow
around it.
And yeah, exactly, as the tree grows around those little imperfections.
So you're referring to this as a self bow. I'm not familiar with that term. What is
self bow? Means only relying upon itself to function, right? So there's the other organic type bow is a composite type. So
Laminated.
Well, correct. So that would be either maybe take a piece of wood and then for the back, the back, it's okay, don't worry about it. The back is
What'd you do, Mac?
Man, his eyes. But he's like, I just hurt this bow. You didn't hurt it, man. It's all good. So the part when you're holding a bow at full draw, the back of the bow is the part facing away from you. The belly is what you're looking at, what's facing you, right? So that back of that bow is where all that tension is, right? And so a self bow means that there's nothing to help out with that tension. So I've taken with Osage in particular, it's a ring porous wood. So you actually, some woods like whitewood, like hickory, we would fell the tree, split it up into quarters or split it up into long staves, and then we would I like to cut them about this time of year too, because the bark just slip right off because the sap's up. And right there, that's your back. That's the back of the bow. So you don't touch it. You want to be very careful with it. Don't ding it. Don't anything. That is the integrity.
Yeah, it has to be one growth ring.
Perfect. Yes. And so that happens real nice with whitewood. Now with ring porous woods like Osage, you can do that. You can use the sapwood and do that, but there's an even better wood underneath that sapwood.
In the
This-
heartwood.
Yes, this heartwood, this beautiful yellow heartwood, and this stuff out in Texas, they call these lifetime fence posts.
That was actually following the heart. Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah,
okay.
this is
Wow.
Within the stave, this was probably 2 inches deep, so the bark would have been out here.
Right,
and then I
right.
took a draw knife and just started working down and following.
Crazy.
So like, think about the end cut of a piece of firewood.
Like a
you
cant.
you see all the growth rings, right? So you find that line, take that draw knife, and you start
Okay.
working that to one continuous thing. So once you get that accomplished, then you can actually look and see what that longitudinal grain, because now you can see the grain running this way. And then you take and start laying out your bow dimensions, and that's what's so wonderful about these is self bows is man, no two pieces of wood are alike. No two bows are going to be alike, right? So they're totally original, and it's not really even up to you. It's just up to the piece of wood, and in the way that it was grown and shaped.
No, that's cool.
So they all kind of have their own character, especially these. I'm known for being a snake bow and a character guy, but it's just because I love a challenge, man, and I love the beauty of
So as curved as that bow is, the nocks and the shelf, or the what do you call that? Where the arrow
where
sits,
the handle, right, the arrow rest, and
they
and the
line up in a
tips.
straight line.
That's correct. That's all that matters. Much in the same way about that arrow right there. It doesn't have to be, carbon arrow straight, and this right here doesn't have to be fiberglass longbow straight. As long as the string bisects the handle pretty good where that arrow rest is, it's going to fly great.
How many pounds will that bow pull?
This one right here is 40 at 27. Most of my bows are in the 40 to 50 pound range. So don't need much more than that. I mean,
No, that's right.
so yeah.
So, and you don't string that up till you're ready to go shoot.
Yeah. You string them up. Look, I'll go out. I drive to my hunting spot. I get out. I put my clothes on, whatever, and I string my bow up, and that dude will stay strung up till I get back to the Jeep.
You do it the same old way I used to do it with my first recurve. Step through it and use your legs. Or
Yeah, it's
whatever.
similar, very similar to that. Now, some guys will advocate for only using a
stringer.
But let me just, while I do have a few people that might be wanting to get into this kind of stuff, I don't like the step through method. I think the step through method is one of the main ways that recurve limbs get twisted and bows get broken.
Right.
So there's a what we call what my buddy Pappy says. He says kick string, and it's very similar to that, but it happens as opposed to stepping through and having the bow.
Right.
What you do is you just.
No, don't worry. Don't take a chance with
No,
that.
I'm not going to string it up, but I could demonstrate. Instead of having instead of this thing to get the leverage, right? There's a much safer way, which is your leg, your hand, and this pulling this way. Right. Is that
So you would pre-string it on the bottom. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
slide the top
and
in.
exactly. And as I do that, and that slides up, and then so once it gets strung, because what happens is you end up your boot gets hung up, and so I've seen a lot of bows get broken like that. But
Well, you got to remember too, when I was doing that, I was probably 13.
oh yeah, man, shoot,
Yeah.
I did it too. I did it for years.
There's no way I could have done the second
Right.
way. I wouldn't have been strong enough back then. It was all I could do to get it strung again.
That's it's really amazing. So you put one in, you kind of leveraged it up against your boot,
Right.
and you pulled the handle towards
handle,
you, and then
correct.
pushed the string.
Well,
up
that
at the
way he
top.
could be sure that he doesn't torque it. That's
Yeah.
what he was just
Yeah,
saying.
that also, and if you think about the way that string bends that wood, it's happening all the way out at the tips, right?
Right.
So you want to try to emulate that the best you can, because if you're just trying to bend way up here close to the handle, you could damage the bow.
So once you get that bow cut out, then you've got to figure out what length of string, and then you have some strings made for it. And
Yeah, yeah. It's, typically, when you're in the process of building, you'll have what's known as just your tiller and string, which will have a loop on one end, and then you just tie a bowyer's knot in the bottom, like a half hitch in the bottom. That way, it's adjustable because you're all the time kind of adjusting the length of the string as you go through the stages of tiller and teaching that wood to bend.
How long would that take you to build a bow like that?
Bow like that right there. Honestly, I don't know, probably 50 hours in, something like that. I got a lot of time in a character bow, and I don't really look. I don't clock in and clock out doing this stuff. And let me just say, if there's any listeners out there thinking, "Man, I want to buy a bow from this guy," I don't sell bows. I don't want to sell bows. I don't sell arrowheads. I want to inspire folks to do this. I want to inspire folks to pick up a piece of wood, to pick up a book, and get in this stuff and learn it themselves. And
that bow has so much work in it, the way you described it. It would not have surprised me if you just said, I've got about 50 days.
I thought you were going to say 500. I really did.
Yeah, I didn't.
Look, I can sit down like my that recurve over there. Last year's hunting bow, man, I probably had 20 hours in. A more straightforward build, and I've been doing this now for 20 years. I can whoop one out pretty quick.
So maybe I missed this. How do you get the tips?
Yeah,
so
I
get now. You go down to the heart or the heart wood or within the first growth ring, but that determines your workable bow, one piece. How do you get those tips to turn perfectly like that one?
The recurve in them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the recurve, I'm super inspired by the early bow builders of like the 30s.
I mean, it's perfect. I'm looking at that long
man.
bow.
So
those
Fred Bear
those tips are absolutely identically perfect.
Oh yeah, and these came off of a form. And I tried. I've held some of the early Grumley, the Fred Bear Nels Grumley built bows of the 30s, and to me they're the pinnacle of classical archery.
Mm-hmm.
They're just the most beautiful thing. And he used to have one called, I believe it was the Bushmaster, but this static recurve, these little tight little tips like this are just everything. And essentially what I do is you steam. You can just take a pot of boiling water,
wow,
and put some aluminum foil over it, and take this, just a section, whatever's going to go over your pot, and Toxie, listen, man, you put this in a steam bath for like 45 minutes to an hour. I swear to you, if you stuck the whole bow in there, we could take it out, and when it's done, you could tighten a knot. I mean, it's just so the wood just kind of plasticizes,
even on a burdock tree.
No, absolutely.
Wow.
I mean, it's incredible.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, man. I think this is like a 5-inch radius or something like that,
and he just bends it around the form.
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt, and then you clamp it and let it
absolutely
set up.
Yeah, thanks for. Yeah, I'm just, it's
he's look at you. You're doing so well today.
Well,
this
he's
is my
like the
wingman
moderator.
Right here. This
you know
is
what
my
I mean?
guy. Hey, you and me, we're gonna build a bow one day.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're gonna come
Man.
up to Tennessee. And,
Well, I tried once, and I did bend the tips, and I never finished it. And I guarantee you, I had probably 500 hours.
you still got that thing?
It's somewhere.
I
Yeah.
will listen. Dig it out and come on up to Tennessee and
You're gonna tune that
get it
thing
done.
up.
Yeah,
Deal.
that's right. We'll get it done.
Be
man.
whacking does in no time with that thing.
We're never going to get any work out of Dudley. So I guess next we need to ask you about. Don't worry about our cameras back there with
sorry.
you. But
Excuse me.
Yeah.
No, just keep
It's
that bow.
like-
That bow is way more important.
You have a
I'm
reason.
being facetious, Lanny.
You have a reason for all of this that you do. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a hard worker,
Craftsman,
and I get
artist.
the vibe that this is your relaxation. This is your stress reliever,
It is.
and
So what about this tanned hide over here? What's the deal with that?
Man, brain tan is the best leather in the world, man.
Brain tan.
That's correct. Yeah, brain tan. That's the tanning agent in that is just brains and water. There's no chemicals whatsoever. This in particular is a dry scrape. So you'll see a lot of guys that tan hides. I'd say probably 90%. Right? You see them. They'll take a hide. They put it in a big vat of water. Right? And they'll take and get it wet for 3 or 4 days in a solution of lye, and they'll slip the hair. Essentially what you're doing when you do that is you're taking that hide to a certain level of rot, right? And I don't know, man, there's just something about that just kind of doesn't sit right with me. So the way that I learned and was inspired to learn was the dry scrape method. So essentially, this is straight off the deer. I mean, I'll skin a deer and then rack it up into an A-frame type rack, like you can see in that video that I got online. And then we're coming in, and I've scraped some with stone adze as well, but you can take a steel adze or a stone adze and address that hide and scrape. Once it gets dried out, about 3 days of being strung up out in the sun, man, it'll get tight just like a drum. You can come in and scrape that the hair and the epidermis layer just underneath the hair and get all that off. And then once you do that, you've got rawhide, which that rawhide is what you take to lash that, or there's 9 kinds of uses for rawhide. But then that awesome rawhide, you can take the brain of one animal. You guys ever heard that old adage? Every animal's got enough brains to tan its own hide. You guys ever heard that?
I have heard that, but I never knew what they came from.
Yeah, so that's an old timer.
Say that again.
Yeah, so every animal's got just enough brains to tan its own hide. That's something your grandma never said that to you?
Bobby wouldn't fit that way.
Well, see, that's what
I heard, boy, I'm gonna tan your hides. I heard that a lot.
So that comes from the fact that most animals have enough brain matter in them to actually
tan their own hide
and then soft their own hide. So
you're using a deer brains, I assume.
Yeah. So like this particular deer was killed, skinned him out, racked him up, took his brain, and then once we were ready to do the deed, it's like take a bucket and about a 5-gallon bucket and about that much water, a couple gallons of water, and you take the brains and just the one brain and a little bit of water and cook it over the skillet. Put it in a blender first, right? And emulsify.
Obviously, your wife's blender.
Yeah.
Yes,
the
exactly.
kitchen aid.
Yeah, you want it
from the kitchen.
you need to do this in the kitchen. Yeah, this isn't an outdoor thing. No. So and you want to cook it just a little bit. Just boil it a little bit, so you get whatever bacteria or whatever that could be in it that could hurt you, and cook it just a little bit. Just
whole brain, you chop it up.
Whole thing. Whole thing. Chunk her in there. For us, they're usually frozen. You know what I mean? So thaw them out a little bit, throw them in there, make your concentrate, put that into your bucket, fill your bucket about quarter way up or so, and then you'll take this scroll, we call it, of that rawhide. Imagine this just rolled out hard as a rock, like poster board or something, and just start working it down into the solution. I'll let that sit overnight.
Just pushing it down in that
Pushing
bucket.
it down, letting it absorb, and eventually it'll go from being so stiff and it'll turn into a wet hide again. And overnight, sitting, letting all that stuff soak, and then you start taking and wringing the hide out best you can.
Just wringing the water out of it. That's why I said like wrap it around a post and take a stick.
That's right. Yeah. So if you'll watch that video, I've got a whole series on this on TikTok, but I do have a pretty good just overview of this process. But the long and short of it is basically you're wringing it out like your grandma would have wrung out clothes, back in the day. To force that the lanolin or whatever it is, the chemical inside the brain that makes this stuff soft, and so you're forcing that all the way through, permeating that multiple times, and then stretching, trying to. So as you stretch this thing, it's getting drier and drier and drier, and then you turn around and go back to the brains, and then start this over. And this is about 3 days. 3 days of just some of the hardest dadgum work. When I'm done with the hide, the next couple of days, I can barely open my hands, because I've been, it looks something like this.
Like skinning a deer, you know how your hands get sore? Can you imagine doing that?
That's child's play compared to this, man. Because these have stretch in a couple different ways. So you'll sit here and do this, stretch this dude, and see how it's not stretching very much right now? It's because it's good and dry. So, but I've done this for 8 hours. Just sit.
Oh man.
And when you start, this is a slimy, wet ordeal.
Yeah.
and as you go,
Might need your waders on.
yeah, for sure. And
Is this how the Native Americans did it?
absolutely, yeah. This is one of the oldest ways right here.
You mean they didn't just go to trappersupply.com?
No. And so let's just say we've gone through the whole branding process. We got this thing dry. It's soft. Everything's great. We've got to hide. You guys ever seen like the wedding dresses that some of the natives?
Yeah, with the elk ivory on the front.
Right, and they'll be completely super duper white. Right. So those weren't smoked. So we got this brain tan hide and it rained. That's going to go straight. As soon as it get wet, once it dries, it goes straight back to rawhide. So all that work, we got 2 days of stretching. Both our hands are dying, and all of a sudden we got to do this again. So at a certain point, we realized, probably from just hanging out around fires as much as we did, that if you'll take and essentially what I do is sew this up into a big bag or a sock and force smoke through the entire thing. And we'll smoke the inside, get it completely done, turn the thing inside out, smoke the other side, and that creosote that's in this gets inside, permeates those fibers, and something about it essentially waterproofs. Now look, if we got this soaking wet right now, I would have to work it a little bit. There'd be a little bit of stiff spot and we could stretch it for a minute, but it'll go right back to feeling just like that. And honestly, man, there's not a better smell in the world to me personally, but it's kind of some guys like it, most women don't. But
Probably.
I would go to bed with that thing every night wrapped up in it if my wife would.
Yeah,
let
it
me.
smells like you've been camping all weekend.
Yeah, it smells like campfire.
Golly.
This has been very interesting.
Old school scent control.
Yeah, it was. It absolutely was. So, hey, and I brought this too. You guys were talking about the lethality of stone points. This is on my YouTube channel. You can watch me. I self-filmed for the first time this past season, killing a nice doe, and this is that arrowhead that I pulled out. So you can see very little damage. The haft, everything's. See, I mean, you can throw it around and it doesn't even break. So.
How much time out of a day do you spend napping?
Just depends on the day. Usually, man, I've got a 6-year-old little girl, and I've just got small portions of the day that I can come out and do this kind of stuff. Maybe a couple hours. But hell, I may go a couple weeks and not do it.
Probably like you writing a book, Bobby.
So
Just when
is
you
it
have
something
time.
though that when you once you kind of get into a rhythm, you can just knock them out pretty quick, and you can turn over a piece of flint and see, well, there's going to be 3 in this one, or
So typically, I'm looking at
this would be a better knife, and this one would be
right for size. So like I'd look at a spall like this and go, okay. This size ball, I'm going to make one good bigger piece out, the biggest thing that I can out of this from the core of this piece of material. And I'm hoping that through the process of reduction, I'm going to get a few flakes that are large enough that I could pressure flake into smaller projectiles. So it's essentially, it's all about trying not to be super wasteful, because you got a lot of waste that happens. So it's just out of all this waste, what can I make use of?
What on when you're sticking these heads on these arrow shafts or whatever, it looks like some tar.
Yeah, that's pine pitch.
That's pine pitch.
Yeah, that's pine sap, wood ash, a little bit of deer poop or rabbit,
nice.
And maybe a little beeswax too. If it gets brittle, you can add a little bit of wax, and it's all about just getting the right consistency. So what, you can feel, push your fingernail into that stuff a little bit right now. Like, feel how it's not super duper brittle. If it is a little bit brittle, it gets even more brittle in the wintertime. And you want that to have some elasticity to it. You know what I mean? Because it does take some impact. So.
Well, that's like basically some homemade glue.
Yeah,
It's interesting that the shaft on your arrow broke, but the
haft and everything.
Your hafting job is just completely solid.
How many arrows do you carry? What kind of quiver have you?
Well, so look, again, I'm not a I'm more focused on being a craftsman than a caveman. So like this bow, I use a strap on. It's a Great Northern quiver. You know, you not unlike you see on modern traditional. In contrast to that, this turkey season, I was running through the woods chasing turkeys with just 3 cane arrows in my hand and my bow. Just because I didn't want to have, first off, I didn't want to have all this extra stuff out here and wait, because you know, when you call a bird in, man, you're sitting like this for way longer. And I mean, this bow don't weigh but a pound, but a pound after 5 minutes with a bird.
My hand after 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. Y'all know the drill. So
well, it's amazing to see your passion for this, and
Wow.
It really there's a lot of effort that goes into doing this.
Man, yeah,
To say the least.
I've been eat up with it my whole life, you know, and I'm just one of these types folks that I get focused on stuff. It started with guitar and you know, I figured that out, and it's just anything that I'm interested in, I want to go all the way with it.
Yeah.
You know, luckily I'm not. I got a lot of buddies that are super talented, and a lot of them, you know, will just go way over here for a while and way over here with something, you know. And I've always everything is always, for me personally, has always revolved around deer hunting, pretty much. And so this has always kind of just been an extension of my deer season. So hence November South, right? So deer season's out. My next focus is I'm building my bow for next year, you know, and then once that's built, I'm practicing with that daily, and then I'm moving towards making my arrows and making my arrowheads, and then as season gets closer, I'm hafting all of that. I'm fine tuning all of those things, and at the same time, is that thunder?
Yeah,
Could be.
But
it could be Riley in the warehouse too.
That's true.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's been the thing, is it can be a way to just really extend all the things.
You know,
I
there's
was
go
going to say, Toxie had a bit of a comparison about that. We discussed at lunch between what you do and what we do
as gamekeepers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's it?
I guess what struck me listening to him at lunch was, and telling that story actually even more in depth, that I feel like kind of proud that it exhibits a very similar like philosophy to us. It's like, enjoy all your time, not just the results. Don't just like, hey, you know, and compare to everything, you know, it was just the result. Oh, I feel, but you know, I didn't kill but a 150 this year.
Man,
I was shooting for a 170. You know, whatever that is.
That's life, ain't it? I mean,
you enjoy the process, and that's why being a gamekeeper, people are becoming more consumed with getting the work done. They have such a connection with nature, and it's in a different way. It's the same thing. You don't want anything like artificial, quote unquote. You want it to have come from the earth, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
And also be authentic and being, you know, going back in time. It's just so cool. And it actually something I think more and more people are tapping in today and get a better place in their life from it. But that's the same thing we're trying to do. And it just struck me, it's very similar. There's that draw to the earth that we live on, and it pulls at us in 1,000 different ways, from farming to, we love to hunt, and we love to fish, and we love to farm and or garden or whatever it is, forage and all those things. Yeah. But I thought it was so similar that what's so valuable that you could teach people, that I pray for people, is just enjoy all your time. Don't just throw away a bunch of time for some end result. Enjoy the whole process. And the thing that's so cool, again, about the gamekeeper side, which is similar, is that we see more and more and more and more people just loving doing the work.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, the work is where it's at. I mean, the process is that's the essence of life, you know. And like you said, man, I think in today's society we're so accustomed to, you know, having just real quick results. You know, I want to do this and have just a real quick result, you know. And if I can't get that, well, I don't like it. I want to move on to something else, because we in such a fast-paced society, right? It seems to only be going faster. And this, as a gamekeeper, as a primitive skills practitioner,
I mean,
whatever,
you're not timed. That's what we talked about too. Is in your timed. Your end your end of game is when you're through with this process that you love, not like 4:30.
Yeah.
Your time is your deadline time is like opening of deer season.
Yeah.
And other than that, what's so cool about it, you sit down, this bow might take you 45 hours. This bow may take you 15 hours, but it's not until you're through with the process.
Yep.
And you're having, you're being fulfilled the whole time in that process.
The whole time, man. And look, and while I was making this bow right here, I was thinking about the tree that I was going to hunt. You know what I mean? I was thinking about
the mind wanders.
I wonder, and all of those thoughts. And I'm putting that energy into this stuff while I'm making it, and I feel like, honestly, and some of my buddies will kind of feel the same way about when they go out and hunt with their self bow for the first time. There's like a little bit of magic in it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You've got a little bit of something, so wow, man, it's a pleasure.
Well, look, we're going to get you to sing a song here in a second.
Okay.
I want to give Mike a chance to ask a question if he's got one.
Yeah,
And,
you must
Don't
have
get him started.
You must have his mic turned
limit
off.
you to one.
What's up, Mac?
If you're making box calls, and if you do, I would definitely like to see what one of those.
I know, right? So I almost a few years back, I almost really got into the turkey call thing, and so like one of the things that was great about getting into self bows was, again, man, I grew up poor, and so it wasn't a huge investment to do, and I love turkey hunting. I'm passionate about it, and I wish that I could do some more stuff that was maybe not so expensive. But when I looked into like getting a lathe and like getting just it was just too much. But I have been thinking about, I think next year I'm going to try, because I'm determined to kill a turkey on film with my self bow and stone point. And I think what I'm going to try, just like maybe a box call and like some natural slate, and try to see if I can't make something.
You can make something that sounds like a turkey.
Yeah.
No doubt about
That
it.
sounds
Even
like
these cane callers. I bet he could do something with that.
No, but he could do it.
Yeah,
no
he
question he could do it. Either the striker.
Yeah.
That'd be-
what do they call those? But or your own box call.
Right,
I'm
like
sure you could do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It'd
Or
be
you
cool.
can take one of those rocks and a nail and make a turkey sound if it comes
Well,
down to it.
funnily enough, I was filming myself working on a bow for a friend of mine last year, and it was I was making my turkey bow this year, and I was scraping, so chasing a ring on this Osage. The very last step is you take a card scraper, not unlike a knife or a piece of glass, right? And you're just taking very, very small, fine little paper shavings off, and sometimes it'll kind of scratch a little bit, and by God, I was sitting there with a gooseneck, and it started going, and I was like, oh, whoa, there was a little spot there, and I went back, and I went,
You might not.
and I was like, man.
He might not need an assist from the call.
Well, I am a singer.
Do you know how any of us know how the Indians used to call them, or did they not call them, or just
Oh, I never thought
stalk
about
them down
that.
and shoot them? I don't know.
man, I've never
I remember seeing the famous pioneer Ben Lee just grab a leaf and make a beautiful yelp with like, a green leaf off of some, I don't know what kind of tree it was. I think an ash tree or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do that.
that'd be cool. An integrated turkey call built into your bow.
Yeah.
So, do you have a tattoo of a guy with a bow shooting a deer on your arm? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah,
there?
this
Oh,
right
there's
here.
one right there.
Yeah,
Look at
this is some
looks
cave
familiar.
art from Spain. This is actually man, at the time, and don't quote me on the dates on this, but I'm fairly certain that this particular petroglyph was the earliest known depiction of man using a bow and arrow. Right, and so I just thought, how sweet. Now, in the actual thing, the deer were actually. I think they were going away, and it was like a big scene of a bunch of deer going this way, and some of them have horns. I think they were red stag or whatever, but I've never been much on killing.
I love the
big
nanny,
horns,
yeah.
So,
Whacking a big
so
old doe on
I
his
got
arm.
this. I got this the year that I made my first self bow. This was in 2004.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been with me. It's a little faded now, but so yeah,
That's cool.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it really is. But so before we get you sing out,
He's gonna do the next Dos Equis commercial. I can see it now.
we always say we always ask around the room, what did we learn? There's so much to say here.
I'm mind blown, That's the only thing I can say.
Dudley?
I don't know.
Dudley's in La La Land.
Okay.
Dudley is so in his zone
dude,
of like his happy place he would go to. Of course, he is so connected to the trees and everything, but he is such a from the first day just about we've ever met a long time ago when he was working here. This was a passion of his so much.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I feel like we're a lot alike.
For sure.
I
Yeah,
think-
man. We're kindred spirits for sure.
I think you tend to do this to relax and keep that anxiety at bay. We
Yes,
were talking
sir.
about that earlier, and
That's exactly
just
right.
using your hands and
Yeah, and
So-
getting outside, right?
Yeah,
And just
100%.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge part of it, and being part of this like natural cycle of things and an older thing, you know.
So
But
I get it. For
it's
sure.
like artwork. It is unbelievable artwork, but it's actually productive
Functional.
artwork.
Yeah.
Functional.
Functional
That's
art.
right. Yes.
and it's all inspired by what he's finding. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he didn't know what he's going to do till he finds the rock or the tree. You know?
Right, nature. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's the whole
that's
thing.
it.
Is like nature. That's all it is, man. Look, and so just kind of segue into the songwriting thing. So I feel like the best songs are not really something that you like. It's not something that you really think about and that you do. It's like sometimes like really the best ones are like you just kind of pull out of air, right? And that's kind of like this thing with these rocks and bows and this stuff. It's like it's there, and I just want to. I'm just a vessel to be able to refine this thing that already exists and be able to like kind of show its beauty to for myself and then be able to share that. I'm so privileged these days to have the platform that I've gotten in the last year and a half. I mean, it's mind blowing to me. And I hope and pray that like I'm inspiring some folks out there to maybe not buy the next, Matthews bow or maybe do, but like maybe do this and like you and your kids have something, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to everybody. Let me back that up too and say my dad hunted with a crossbow. I am not an elitist. I could care less. Absolutely. Hey guys, if hunting with a crossbow does it for you, if that, by God, awesome. Do it and love it and enjoy it and don't look down on anybody else.
no,
You know what I mean?
100%.
I like it all. I got
Yeah,
a
for
crossbow
sure.
and
that was going to be my
shoot a
point.
primitive
Buy your
bow.
Matthews bow. Do both.
Yeah, you can.
know,
You
that's
really,
right.
you
Absolutely.
You absolutely can. But if you're out there and you're poor like I am or I was, hey man, it's everybody can do it. I'm a part of a wonderful organization in Clarksville, Tennessee, Twin Oaks Bow Hunters. We have a website, twinoaksbowhunters.net, I think it is. But we put on a few of the biggest traditional archery shoots in the nation, and one of the biggest, if not the biggest, bow making event this side of the Mississippi. Every spring, it's the first weekend in May. It's in Clarksville, and man, we teach. Guys like that young man that just walked by, that's 14, 15 years old and or all the way up to, gentlemen, that are retired and just get them started. We like to set folks just on the path, but every year we do it and then folks are they get eat up with this stuff and I don't know. I'm just proud to be a part of it.
Well, I tell you what, you've inspired me. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I'll tell you what I've learned. His wife is way more forgiving than my wife. No brains are getting blended.
You're
in
not
my
going to be
kitchen.
chewing snoo and talking to Melissa.
Oh, me.
Yeah,
Let me borrow the blender, baby. You keep making them margaritas.
That's right. Well, you got to wash it good when you get done. You don't just leave it laying around,
Yeah, do you put the hides in the washing machine too?
No, but you can break a hide pretty good with a washing
Yeah,
machine.
yeah.
I've heard that, but no, I tend to go the non-electrical route.
There you go.
So, yeah.
So tell us about this guitar and pick out a song.
Yeah,
and
man.
sing.
Yeah, so,
nobody's ever sang to us here.
Well, shoot, let me. Man, I tell you, we released a song back earlier this year. That's been doing real good, and so basically what I'm doing on the internet is I'm out here. I try to show up every day and show you guys a bow or me working on whatever it is, and I'm in the background because I'm not talking to you. Listen, I don't want to teach you how to do this stuff online either. There's plenty of folks that make long form content. Clay Hayes, there's You know, there's 9 kinds of places that you can go and learn this stuff. I'm just out here to inspire, and I want to show you my songs. So my songs in the background to all these, and this one song in particular we wrote, and it's an old coal miner song. We put it out in, I guess, February, and it's called 1 Mile Deep. So I'll play a little bit of it if that's all right.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
You in tune?
Now listen, this is a banjo song for the most part. I was going to bring my banjo, but I figured this sound a little better. So, if I had more folks with me, but anyway. Riding 2 blind horses as they carry me to hell. There's a burning in my eyes, and brimstone is all that I can smell. I felt the mountain crumble as the walls began to fall. I came to make a living, and now I'm underneath it all. I can hear angels calling, but it feels like the devil has my hand. And come tomorrow, I'll be right here in this place, without a sound, where no light shines, way down in the mine. Like others done before me, I left my home in Tennessee to work a Kentucky coal mine in 1923. Well, the 10 of us were 1 mile deep when the beams began to crack. We all went down in a coal mine, though we never made it back. Well, I can hear angels calling, but it feels like the devil has my hand. Well, come tomorrow, I'll be right here in this place, without a sound, where no light shines, way down in the mine. Well, don't you cry now, darling, everything's gonna be alright. There's angels here to take me now, and I know one day we'll meet on high. 'Cause I see the light way down in the mine.
Oh, wow.
Good grief.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Thank you guys.
You got
Hey,
goosebumps
I
stuff.
made it. Look at it. I'm all shivered up over
I
here.
can't thank you guys enough, man. This has been such an enjoyable experience.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we're not through with you yet. So,
You're going to hang out for a while, aren't you?
You're
I gotta work in the
fly him
morning.
back home?
well,
Yeah, I got to work in the morning.
Well,
but
dadgum.
we're
I
taking
keep admiring that tattoo of the you got on that.
Bobby,
What'd you call that?
Bobby.
Epigraph?
Yeah.
That's what you need, Bobby.
You think his wife is tolerant? Wait till you try to get a tattoo and see what Melson.
So, Mac, we've got looking at you, Will, we've got a trivia question we want to ask you.
All right.
And if you can get the trivia question right,
Okay.
one of our listeners that left a review will win a prize.
Oh, awesome.
And if you don't get it right,
Well,
We'll probably still send him a prize.
yeah, we'll have to do something like that. So this is where we kind of turn it over to Mac here. So hang on.
All right, so you are gonna give a listener a chance to win a pair of Leopold sunglasses, and you're playing for WP Taylor 72, who left a review.
You know, we might have to hook you up with some sunglasses.
Those sunglasses are awesome.
oh, all right.
They're great.
They really are.
Let's see. I'm not real good at trivia, so you guys might want to hold out.
Well, now,
So-
this one was cherry picked for you.
okay.
All right, so the question is, the Iroquois and the Cherokee called corn, beans, and squash the blank because they nurture each other like family when planted together. These agriculturalists place corn in small hills, planting beans around them, and putting squash throughout the rest of the field.
That's correct. Yeah, that's called the Three Sisters.
Boom! Ring the bell.
Yeah.
He's killing
I got
it, man.
a Three Sisters circle garden at my house.
Ah.
So I just made on a video. I made a stone a stone hoe. I'm actually I'm been gardening with. So
Man, Fred Flintstone.
That's
hoe.
where I lost you. I did 30 minutes of weed eating this morning. I would not
man.
swap it for a hoe.
Man, listen, man, the fun is in the process.
Yeah, you're
okay,
right.
okay, Toxie. Like when you're gardening, it's about the process.
Oh, he's all about
It is until the weeds get involved.
Man, I know it. I'm lying to you. I hate the work of it.
Oh,
Well, this has really been interesting.
Very interesting.
Have you want to give us just say something to your wife or daughter that
Fascinating.
way they can?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hey guys, I'll be home in a few hours. I love y'all so much. And,
That's cool. Hey, come by and go hunting with us.
Shoot fire. Oh God,
There it is. He's
Hey,
coming.
y'all
All
can't
right.
see this right now. They are twisting my arm. Say yes to this.
yeah. The guy that says that 15 yards is his furthest shot is going to have the best shot of going to the good stuff.
Yeah,
too.
you go get put in the good spot with that bow.
Yep.
Oh man, look, I'll pass on anything that ain't just right, by God.
Oh,
So,
we like to eat deer.
yeah, man, that's me. We eat deer 2-3 times a week in
Yeah,
my house.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
right.
so.
Cool.
Well, does anybody have any more concluding thoughts, or Mac, you got another question or anything before we wind this thing down?
I got a question. Who's going to clean up these obsidian shards on the carpet?
I get it. I get it.
I volunteered.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm sorry about that, guys.
And there's stuff we need to make sure you get all your heads back. 'cause,
Oh, yeah.
they're laying everywhere.
Except
All
for
right,
one he gave me.
No, I'm gonna
that
pass
he
out.
made, the knife he made for me.
That,
That's right.
Does that? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like kind of like bottomland on it.
That's it right there.
It does. It does. That's we call that that camo Dover right there, and that's it is. It's a little. It's kind of got that bottomland look to it. I started making it yesterday, and I said, "Well, I guess I'm gonna have to give this
Secret.
to
That's
one
crazy.
of the
He
guys."
made that yesterday. I mean, it really is.
It is. It's amazing.
No.
Well, so folks can go on Instagram
Yeah.
and they can at November South
Yeah, I'm on all the socials. So on literally anything other than Twitter, I'm out there. I'm at November South.
Is there any way to stream your music? Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. I try. I'm trying right now. I'm trying to release a song every 4 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
I've got, I think, 25 songs that I've released since 2020.
So where would we go to download or stream your music?
Absolutely, you can hear it anywhere online that you like to listen. So
Spotify.
that's Spotify, Apple,
I'm on it.
Amazon. That's if you guys like Pandora Radio, if you're not paying for streaming services,
I'm
you
fixing
can-
to stick you on my playlist right beside Jerry Jeff Walker.
Oh man, I love that. That's such an honor, man.
Wow. And look, I don't know why I've just been so fascinated with you. I forgot Dudley's got some questions. We call it rapid fire.
Okay.
And
Well, this will be good.
he's put a lot of effort into this. It's brought to you by our friends at Springfield Armory. They're kind of at the other end of the spectrum.
That's right, yeah.
They make some really sophisticated pistols and
Absolutely.
rifles. But Dudley, you ready?
I'm getting close.
Almost there.
Just give me 5 seconds.
Okay. So while I don't know what he's doing there because he's
going over
he's
his notes.
making notes or something.
Yeah. I've got one thing I wanted to add that hit me last minute that I need to.
Yeah. And is there while he's doing that, is there anything we need else we need to promote to help you?
No, not really, man. No, I mean, Clay Hayes is a great guy. If you guys are out there trying to learn how to make bows, Clay Hayes, obviously he's huge. Everybody knows who Clay Hayes is. Let me think. I've got another great bowyer out there is Swiftwood Bows.
I've heard of them.
So if you guys are looking for bows, don't look to me. But also if you can go to my link tree, and I'll be sure I'm going to put up here tonight. I'm going to put up a few links to great resources for learning flint knapping and also learning bows. So
Cool.
Yeah. I don't even know what Linktree is.
Yeah, when you go to his Instagram, you can see
it's
his
a little
link
thing
tree.
on your.
Okay.
Click on there and you get all his info. It's good stuff.
Cool.
Is it,
Are you ready,
was that
Dudley?
a HAAS? Is it Clay Hayes? HAAS?
HAY.
No.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah,
There's so
Clay,
few.
Yeah, Clay Hayes is the guy. He's the guy that went on. I met him at the Classic a few years back. He's a great guy. We're actually almost the exact same age. But he won. He was the dude that went on Alone season 8 and won. He's the guy that killed the deer and then like made the smokehouse like everybody's
100%. I know exactly who you're talking
he's
about.
awesome.
You gotta watch that. It's awesome.
Yeah, he used one of my old songs. Probably 6 or 8 years ago on a turkey hunting video. So he's a great guy.
Yeah, that guy. I think he could have stayed for a few more weeks. He was
for sure.
He was kicking it.
He was thriving.
Yeah, he was doing it. He was
We may have found somebody to write a Gamekeeper theme song for us.
Ah, man,
Wow.
Me and a couple of my songwriter buddies, as soon as I told them that this is what I was going to go do, Daryl, the one that helped me write this song, I just played. He said, "Man, we need to. By God, we just need to go down there and sing a song about turkey hunting or something." You know.
Come on.
So yeah, hey, we can talk.
All right, let's turn it over to Dudley.
All right. So we ask questions in rapid fire.
Okay.
So we're just trying to get to know you better. Just try to answer them quick.
Let me get this
And
mic in here close.
You can say either or neither if you want. But
He'll give you a couple. And
So
you can say both.
so what are the? It's either or neither.
No, he'll ask you. You'll know.
Yeah, it's like
You can
mayonnaise or
pass-
mustard, and you say
You can pass also
Yeah,
if
you
you
can
want
pass.
to.
all right, are
No
you
pressure.
ready?
no wrong answer.
I'm ready.
All right. Would you rather stare at a stream or a fire?
Fire.
Left feather or right feather?
Right feather.
Saddle or stand?
Stand all day.
Hunt high or hunt low?
Low, baby.
Glove or tab?
Oh, I'm a tap guy.
Snaky or straight?
So come on, get back, snaky.
Homemade glue or factory glue?
Oh yeah, no, I make it.
Instinctive or aiming?
A little of both, man.
Okay. Deer hunt, morning or evening?
I love the mornings.
Willie or Waylon?
Oh man, Willie. I'm gonna go Willie.
Fast bow or quiet bow?
Shoot, quiet counts, fella.
And paper tune or bear shaft tune?
You know, if it hits where I'm looking, that's all I'm worried about.
Old school. And lastly, September or November?
November in the South, baby. That's the only place to be.
Awesome.
Good job.
Good job.
Ding, ding, ding.
There it is.
Yeah. Well, look, you see this rock on the table? It's called a bio rock.
Oh, I love them bio rocks, man. They taste good.
They do taste good. Could you make a point out of that?
I wish, by God, because I would throw them at deer all day. You know, it won't.
It's too soft.
Yeah, it just doesn't break with that conical fracture like we're talking about. Actually, I've never hit a salt rock before, but so it might actually fracture in a conchoidal, but it wouldn't be worth much.
No.
So
Yeah.
Okay, well, I had to ask. So
couldn't hunt with it in the rain.
you definitely could. Well, this has been really interesting. I knew it would be.
Yeah.
And,
There you go.
Hey, easy conversation, man.
yeah.
You guys are
No,
great.
had to
This is
twist
great.
his arm to get him to come down.
God dang. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
I bet we can get him down in bow season.
Yeah, I bet we can.
Ah, man. Hey.
You think?
All right, Toxie, you got anything? How's Mr. Fox doing?
So.
That's good.
Send out prayers for him. He's not doing the best, but he's okay.
Well, tell him we asked.
I will.
Yep. Now, Lanny, I'm looking at you. We've been here a long time. We got a lot to do. The internet maybe is back on.
Yeah. Maybe it's back on.
We can get to
go
work,
Work
so.
on those websites. Plantbiologic.com.
On the net.
Plantbiologic.com.
Yep. I hope Copper has not peed in my office while we've been here. So. Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Mac.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast. And be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.